Think about, the biggest German auto giants right now, like Volkswagen, Mercedes, Porsche.
Right, the legacy heavyweights.
Exactly. If you look at their recent moves in the first half of 2026, their executives are, well, they're still fiercely clinging to the combustion engine.
Yeah, placing massive bets on a fading era.
Right. But while they do that, Renault is quietly pulling off one of the most aggressive and honestly successful pivots to electric vehicles we've seen. Welcome to this custom deep dive, by the way, where we are unpacking exactly how they did it.
And it really is a massive divergence in strategy. The sources show Renault isn't just, swapping gas tanks for batteries. They are completely rewriting the rules on how they sell cars.
And who they sell them to, right?
Exactly. I mean, they've essentially abandoned the industry's historical obsession with raw volume.
Wait, but the entire auto industry is built on economies of scale. Like, if you aren't pushing as much metal as possible to lower your per unit cost, your overhead usually eats you alive.
Historically, yeah, absolutely. But Ivan Segal, he's Renault's head of global sales, he recognized that chasing pure volume usually means relying really heavily on corporate fleet and rental sales.
Oh, sure.
So instead, Renault is aggressively targeting private buyers. In their top 5 European markets, I think it's 60% of their sales are now going directly to everyday consumers.
Wow, 60%, which completely changes the pricing dynamic.
It really does.
It's like running a high-end boutique instead of a big box warehouse. You don't have to offer those massive wholesale discounts to a rental company that's buying 1,000 cars at a time.
Right, and that boutique approach solves one of the biggest hidden problems in the car market, which is depreciation.
Because of the rental fleets dumping cars.
Exactly. When automakers rely on fleet sales, those rental companies eventually dump thousands of identical 2-year-old cars onto the used market all at once.
And that massive supply spike just tanks the resale value for regular consumers.
Right. But by refusing to play that game, Renault's used cars are retaining values like 4 to 13% higher than their European rivals right now.
That's a huge selling point if you're a buyer worried about trade-in value in 3 years.
Definitely. Plus, they are focusing heavily on C-segment cars, essentially your compact family SUVs.
Which naturally carry much wider profit margins than entry-level hatchbacks.
Yeah, they do. And they're also maintaining a stranglehold on their inventory. They operate on a really strict 2.1-month order book.
So you aren't going to see sprawling dealership lots full of unsold Renault just gathering dust.
No, and they don't have to offer massive price cuts to move them. This discipline is paying off big time. Electrified vehicles now make up 52% of their European sales.
That's wild.
And the Renault 5 is just completely dominating the B segment, which are those highly competitive urban subcompact EVs.
Meanwhile, you've got competitors basically scrambling. The sources highlight that Stellantis actually had to buy a stake in the Chinese brand Leap Motor just to get their hands on affordable EV tech.
Yeah, while Renault already has that in-house advantage.
Right. But let's look at the math here for a second. If Renault is intentionally restricting supply and protecting premium margins in Europe, they still need raw volume somewhere, right? Just to sustain a global manufacturing footprint.
Oh, for sure. And they found it in India.
Really? India?
Yeah, Renault saw a staggering 61.2% sales explosion there recently.
Wow.
Mostly by pushing localized SUVs that are tailored specifically for that market.
See, India is a monster market, doing something like 5 million new cars a year, which makes me wonder, if local Indian titans like Tata and Mahindra are dominating that massive domestic space, why aren't they flooding Europe with cheaper cars to undercut brands like Renault?
Well, because Europe has built what is essentially an invisible shield.
Invisible shield.
Yeah, it's not just the logistics of shipping cars across an ocean. Europe demands incredibly strict emissions compliance and punishing Euro NCAP crash test standards.
Oh, right, all the regulatory red tape.
Exactly. And on top of that, an Indian automaker would have to build a comprehensive dealership, service, and parts network totally from scratch.
So the barrier to entry isn't just building a good car, it's the billions in sunk costs before you even make your first sale in Europe.
Right, and Indian brands look at that math and they just pass. They already understand the ferocious competition in their own massive domestic market.
Makes sense?
Taking a gamble on uncertain margins in a heavily regulated, saturated place like Europe, it just isn't worth the risk when they are already thriving at home.
So Renault's playbook is essentially a dual-engine strategy. Run a tight, high-margin premium game in Europe while capturing massive volume in exploding emerging markets like India.
That is the core takeaway here. They've successfully insulated their European operations from that traditional volume trap.
By adapting their financial model to fit the specific realities of each region. It's honestly a masterful balancing act for 2026.
It really is.
But it does leave you with something to keep an eye on. Those European regulations are acting as a fortress right now, keeping massive Indian automakers out and protecting legacy brands.
For now, yes.
Exactly, for now. Because what happens to the European automotive landscape if those Asian giants ever decide the market is finally worth the investment? Those fortress walls might not hold forever.
And that is a multi-billion-dollar question for the next decade.
Seriously. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to tune into this deep dive today. We really hope you learned something new to bring to your next conversation about the future of cars. We'll catch you next time.